Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody, Brad Vorbeck here with Turnkey Technologies. Thank you for joining us today for our Power BI webinar where we're going to be discussing the importance of having data from your various sources visible throughout your organization and the impact it can have on everyday decision making and how Power BI can deliver that insight to everybody easily and make it shareable and embeddable. And for those who aren't familiar with Turnkey, we are a business solutions provider based in St. Louis, Missouri. We're focusing primarily on Microsoft solutions for finance and operations, customer engagement, and of course, business intelligence and reporting. We have Greg Gillespie with us today. He's one of our Power BI specialists, and he's going to be your main presenter. And we encourage everybody to ask questions throughout the webinar, and we will get them answered at the end during a Q&A session. And finally, this webinar is going to be recorded, and it will be available to view on our website in about 3 to 5 business days. And so with all that said, I will go ahead and hand it off to Greg. Greg?
Hey, thanks, Brad, and thanks to everybody for taking the time out of their day to attend this webinar. I know we're all busy, so we really do appreciate it. So as Brad has said, this webinar is going to be focused on some data awesomeness and how you can gain more value from your data through a product called Microsoft Power BI. So with that being said, what do I hope you all can gain from this webinar today? We're going to look at the value of adding data analytics to your company strategy, looking at why you need it. Why is it necessary to start harnessing this data you currently have? We're going to look at examining the functionality of Power BI and how you can build some dynamic and informative reports off of that data. And then strategically analyzing how to embark on a data analytics project. How do you get started? Where do you actually get started? We have all this data, but where do we go with it from here? Then hopefully at the end of this webinar, you're going to have a better visibility of how your data is going to help you improve your performance, your efficiency, and then in the long run, improve your customer satisfaction. So with that being said, we're going to kind of take you back on a little journey here with some industrial revolutions. If we go back to 1764 and we look at our first industrial revolution where we had the invention of the steam engine, when James Watt invented the steam engine, think about how that transformed the industry at that time. Think about how it really propelled how businesses actually performed. And then we move forward and we look at the 1870s when electricity was invented. And think about how electricity really transformed the industries, the way companies actually performed businesses at that time. And we move forward again to the 1960s when we had the invention of the microprocessor and the transistor and how we started creating computers and how we went from computers that were a size of, a building all the way down to a simple cell phone that we keep in our pocket now. And now we find ourselves in the middle of another industrial revolution, the digital age, to where those computers, all those devices, they're all doing something. They're all collecting data. So whether it's a software system, whether it's a sensor, whether it's your cell phone, they're all doing the same thing. They're all collecting information, and they're automating our business process, and they're helping us improve how we do business today. So with that being said, I always like to say data is the new electricity. And what I mean by that, it's so abundant, it's everywhere, it's all around us, whether it's in our cars, our cars are constantly collecting data, whether that's in an ERP solution, an accounting system, it's collecting all types of information, a CRM solution, it's collecting our customer data, our sales data. Maybe just a simple sensor. Maybe we're monitoring some machines out on our plant floor. Maybe we're monitoring some outlying sites. Whatever it is, we're collecting data, and it's all around us, and it's just ready for us to use it. So kind of going back again to that second industrial revolution to where we've seen the invention of electricity, just think about the simple concept of a light bulb and what that actually did and how that empowered people and how that actually empowered employees. What it did was it brought light to dark areas, and it made working environments much more safer for them to perform their work. It also allowed them to, work at night so they could increase shifts. Before we even applied it to, electric machinery and automating more processes, just think about what the simple light bulb did. So if we can take that concept and apply it to today's digital industrial revolution and start taking that data we have at hand and incorporating a data culture inside of our companies, you're going to start seeing the value of how that data can help you transform your industry and take it to the next level and outdo your competitors. So data is a key strategic business asset. Everything that's happening in the world around us, every purchase, upload, tweet, customer interaction, anything in this industry, it's all doing one thing. It's all collecting data. The IDC projects the digital universe will double every 2 years between now and 2020. And that results to about 5.2 gigs of data for every person on the earth by 2020. That is a ton of data. Just think about how much information that is. And it's just sitting there waiting for us to do something with it. So start thinking about, what does your company actually have at hand? How are you actually utilizing the data that you have? IDC also estimates companies that are leaders in using data assets to their advantage will capture $1.6 trillion more in business value than those that lag behind. And Gartner predicts that by 2020, 10% of organizations will have a highly profitable business unit specifically for productizing and commercializing their data. Now, these are some very high-level data stats, but what it means is the consumption of data it's not going anywhere. It's only going to continue to increase, and it's going to be sitting there waiting for you to do something with it. And the question is, what are you going to do with that data? So one question I do have for everyone that's on the call today is, what are you currently doing with your data today? Maybe you have some operations data. Do you have a system that's tracking your operations? Sales and marketing, maybe you're using a CRM system. Are you tracking that data? How are you trending it over time? Human resources, are you tracking your human resources data on your employees? Finance, do you have an accounting system? Do you have an ERP system? Do you know what your real-time cash flow is? Can you automatically run reports so that you know at any given time how your company is performing financially? And then customer relations. How is your relationship with your customers? Is it a great relationship? Are you giving them the metrics they need so that your customers are successful? Because if your customers are successful, you're going to be successful as well. So with that being said, here's just a quick few examples of how you could possibly be using analytics to stay ahead. So improving visibility and making accurate predictions. Maybe we want to do some form of remote monitoring and monitoring our outlying sites that we're not at any given time. So we can maybe see how machinery is running at those locations. Maybe we want to do some predictive maintenance on some machines so that we're not always being a reactive company, but we're turning ourselves into a proactive company. Maybe we're a manufacturing firm and we want to start doing manufacturing analytics on our line. Maybe we're looking at the overall equipment effectiveness of how our machines are actually running. Maybe we want to look at, cross-selling and upselling our products. Maybe one product at one of our stores is outselling all of our other stores. Well, what's the reasoning behind that? Is it because the weather is always so much nicer at our store 1 compared to our store 3 and 4? Taking this data that we have at hand and actually putting it to work so that we can actually understand what is going on in our company. And with that being said, what I'm trying to get at is, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether it's retail, manufacturing, government, health, financial services, we all have data and we could all be using it to help propel our company to the next level. So with that being said, when we're talking about taking this data, what we're really discussing is digitally transforming our company. And digitally transforming our company is just by taking a connection and applying intelligent action to it. And if we can do that by engaging our customers through providing them with insights to improve our business-to-business relationship, let them know, where our projects are at any given time, and, strengthen that relationship. We can also empower our employees by giving them the tools they need to get the job done more effectively. So if they had a tool like Power BI that they can see how exactly they are performing on their job or how their projects are performing, that's going to empower them. They're going to have the tools that they need at hand so that they get the job done more efficiently, more effectively. They're going to be happy. They're going to go home and spend time with their families instead of spending all day at work. We want to look at optimizing our operations, analyzing our metrics and better understanding how we're performing. Maybe we are that manufacturing firm and we want to make sure that we are pushing out as much product at any given time that we can and improving that operation. And then looking at transforming our products. At the end of the day, we want to be the top quality and the top rated vendor for all of our customers, whether it's a service or a product. We want to transform that product. And the way we do that is by taking that data and making sure that what we're doing is what needs to be done at our company. So with that being said, I know we threw a lot of things out at you here about, how data can be used. What can you do now to harness that information? And the answer to that is Microsoft Power BI. And Microsoft Power BI, you might ask yourself, well, what is it? Well, Power BI is a way to turn data into insights and actions that improve your company's bottom line. It's a tool that transforms your company's data into rich visuals so you can perform analysis on what matters most to you. So, for example, if we have a CRM solution and we have an accounting system, an ERP solution, if we can take data from both systems, bring them into one centralized platform and run data analysis on it, we're no longer looking in silos. We're comparing, apples and oranges in the same location and looking at why they differ or what's actually going on. And that doesn't matter whether it's in the Microsoft cloud, whether it's in a non-cloud like a third-party software vendor like a Salesforce, a QuickBooks, a Xero accounting, or maybe it's on-premise in an SQL Microsoft GP solution. Whatever it is, we can bring it into Power BI and start creating informative reports, visualizations, live dashboards, and then once we get those dashboards and reports built, what we want to do is we want to share that report throughout our company and start collaborating with it so that we can create a report that looks just like this, share it throughout our organizations, and start seeing exactly what is going on behind the scenes. So instead of just looking at this static report and so that you can all get a better understanding of what Power BI is and what it can do, I'm going to go ahead and do a demo of the product itself. So if you recall the last screen that we had on the PowerPoint before we pulled this up here, it was a static image of what this was. And what we're looking at here is something called the Power BI desktop. And this is where we actually build the report at. It's where we actually gather the data from our different solutions. Like I said, whether it's our accounting system like Microsoft GP, or whether it's QuickBooks, Xero accounting, wherever that data is residing, we're pulling it into this location. And once we build out our report, what we do is we publish that. And once this report is published, it now goes to the Office 365 environment where Power BI actually sits and where it actually lives. So if some of you are familiar with Office 365, this is the way it looks. And if we want to access Power BI, all we simply do is we click on this tile that says Power BI, and it will bring us to this environment. Now, when we get inside of here, Power BI is built upon 3 different areas. It has data sets, and that basically contains all the data that is behind your report that you're looking at right here. It has our reports, and this is our report, Turnkey Financial Demo. Then it has our dashboards, and I'll explain exactly what Power BI calls a dashboard here in a minute. But before I do that, let's kind of look at some of these visuals and what they can actually do for you and your company. If we look at this revenue visual right here, this is a KPI visual, and what it does, it allows you to put a red, yellow, green type of a approach onto an actual data figure in your company. So red obviously means bad because right now we're at $13.91 million and our goal was to hit 21.21. Therefore, this tile blinks red at us so that we know, hey, we need to figure out what's actually going on and why we're not at $21.2 million. Green is obviously good. We're obviously at 17.06% and our goal was 16.45. So that's just it's a very nice visual, gives you a high level of what's going on and allows me to know if I need to drill into, why my company is not performing where it needs to be at. So on top here, we also have another awesome aspect of Power BI. It is date filtering. So if I want to select 2016 and I also select January, you can see how my data dynamically changes, which is an awesome feature of Power BI. It's no more longer waiting for that report to run and running that report for a specific month. All your data is currently sitting in here in that data set, and you can just continue to click. Maybe I actually want to see the first quarter. So I look at January through March, and you can see how that data changed. Maybe I am, start here and I'm hovering over and it says February has a total revenue of $996,000. And I click on that and I can see how the data on this report changes specifically for February. And I click again and it goes back to everything aggregated as a whole. Now, if we look over here on the bottom left, this is another filter. So it's another way that we can slice and dice our data. So maybe we have 3 branches. And if I don't have anything selected, I'm assuming that I have my East, North, and West branch data all aggregated together. But now maybe I just want to look at my East data. So I select East, and you can see how it just shows me the data for east. If I select west, it shows the data for the same way. Maybe I want to see west and north, and it combines that information. So again, Power BI gives you some great features of how you can slice and dice your information and really visualize what's going on in your company. Now, this first page here is called a summary page, and it's a lot how we usually like to build reports here at Turnkey. Is the first page is usually more of a dashboard type look, a summary of that report, and then we go to another page that's going to be more focused on details. So if you look at this report here, it's more tabular. It has more just raw data involved with it. If we can still slice and dice that information the same way we did on the front page, but the nice thing is now we're just looking at the actual information that we may be concerned about. Another thing is if we just want to see certain metrics, we can go ahead and just select the metrics that we want to see. Again, if we just want to look at the East branch, it's going to just show us the East branch there as well. So a lot of capabilities, a lot of functionality with Power BI. So as I had mentioned dashboards, and a lot of people will say, well, what you're looking at right now is this is our dashboard. Well, it's the dashboard for the actual report we're in. But if you look over here, we're actually working in a workspace that is called finance. So in my finance workspace, I may actually have multiple reports. So in this instance, we actually have another report called Finance Overview. That's going to give us another example of some different ways that we can look at our data. So maybe I want to look at this visual here. So what I can do is I can actually say pin this visual to a dashboard. And for this instance, I'm actually just going to create a new dashboard, and I'm going to call it demo for our instance of this webinar. And I'm going to pin it. And you can see how this demo dashboard just got added to our environment. But now, you know what? I like this waterfall graph, but I also want to look at our revenue, because I'm really concerned with our revenue of our company right now. So I can go ahead and I can pin this visual as well to that demo dashboard that I just created. And if I go to the demo dashboard, you can now see these two visuals that are included in here. And the purpose of this is that dashboard just needs to be something that you look at a high level, to where you can pull this up and you can see exactly how your company is performing from those different report metrics that you have. It's a way to kind of bring everything from your different reports into one location. And if for some instance I see something that looks off, like in this instance here, revenue is below our goal, I can say, what's going on there? I can click on it, and it's going to bring me to the report where that revenue tile is located, and it's going to allow me to drill down and actually see why my revenue is not at where it needs to be at that time. And then the next aspect for what we want to do with Power BI is, so yeah, we have this report built, and that's great, but now we want to share it throughout our company. So what we can do now is we can actually create a Power BI app, and an app just sits in somewhere like this, and what it does is it takes that full data set and the reports and the dashboards that you created inside of that finance workspace, and it allows you to share it with other individuals throughout your company. And another cool thing you can do with it is you can put row level security on each one of those reports. So for instance, if I go back to my finance report here, if I have 3 branch managers and I only want those branch managers to see the data that pertains to them, I can put row level security on them. So when they log in to that app, they're only going to see the data that pertains to their branch, that only pertains to them. And then if I'm the administrator of it, if I'm overseeing those branch managers, I can obviously see all the data because I'm the owner of the reports. But it's another awesome feature that comes along with Power BI. So with that being said, we'll come back and do another demo here towards the end of the presentation. But I'm going to go ahead and keep moving along with the slideshow. So, you know, we already talked about what Power BI is, and we already kind of focused on a little bit about why you want to consider data analytics, because of the abundance of data at hand. But, you know, why Power BI? You know, why would you even want to start using something like that? Well, the reasoning is it's one platform for viewing everything. So like I had mentioned, no more silos, no more just accounting data, no more just CRM data, no more just separate spreadsheets that I just may have stored on my hard drive that I'm utilizing. Bring all that information into one location so you can look at it organized in one area. And that kind of emphasizes on the multiple data sources. It doesn't matter if it's SQL, it doesn't matter if it's in a third-party vendor's database or if it's in an Excel spreadsheet. We can pull it in. Another cool option that some of you may be interested in is in real-time dashboard updates. So if this data is coming in, we can actually see real-time data. We can stream real-time data into Power BI. So if it's something that you're actually wanting to monitor, we can actually put alerts on it to where if a certain threshold gets hit, you can get an alarm and an alert saying, hey, maybe my revenue dipped below where it needs to be, or maybe I have a car wash that just said it went out of order and I need alarmed at that at any given time. Just some simple examples. And then really, you don't know what you don't know. Very simple term. Quit assuming what's going on in your company and actually know how things are performing. Don't wait till the end of the week, don't wait till the end of the month, end of the quarter, or end of the year to kind of get shell-shocked with some figures that you didn't expect to see how your company was performing. Know at any given time by bringing that data that you already have and setting up data refreshes inside of your Power BI so that it's always up to date and you're always seeing what's going on. So this kind of focuses on a lot of what we just said, but you can see all your data from a single pane of glass. You can see exactly what's going on by pinning those visuals to your dashboard and knowing exactly how your company is performing. Another cool feature is being able to stay connected from any device. So it doesn't matter if it's on your laptop, doesn't matter if it's on your tablet, on your phone. You can look at these reports as long as you have that internet connection. You can view them anywhere. A nice case study or a nice example of that is we have a customer that owns multiple stores, and he was actually out in Boston last year, and he was sitting over. I can't really remember exactly where he was at, but he was just saying, I was in Boston. I was out on the sidewalk, and I wanted to see how my stores were performing against each other. I wanted to see my daily sales. So he just simply pulled up his tablet. He logged into Power BI, and he could see exactly what was going on because that data had already refreshed. He was seeing a live view of how his daily sales were performing. And beforehand, what they always had to do is they always had to run a spreadsheet, pull the data from the SQL database, run it, and then that would take forever, almost shut down their computer because there was so much data it was accessing. But now with the ease of use of Power BI, he could pull that data into the Power BI service, and he wasn't just looking at a spreadsheet anymore. He was looking at rich visuals that gave him a great high-level view of how his company was performing on his tablet. So exactly what we said. Why you want to use Power BI is because you can access any data, doesn't matter what type of data it is, any way, putting all kinds of different visualizations to it, and you can access it anywhere, whether you're in Boston, California, Missouri, Illinois, you can have access to it as long as you have an internet connection. So what we want to do is we want to take our company and we want to take us from being reactive, turn us into a proactive company. Instead of looking at historical data all the time, take that data and see if we can start putting predictive type approaches to our data at hand. And then really looking at our people and processes and automating those processes by collecting the information and improving our company's success. So we've talked about what data analytics is. We talked about, why you need Power BI. But the next question might be is how data analytics. We have all this information at hand, but how do we actually go about implementing a project? How do we actually go about, taking something like this on? Well, everyone is, it's all structured the same way. Usually you have your data, you model it, you author it, you build that report, and then you deliver it to your company, and then you want to share it throughout, and you collaborate on that report. Very simple concept, but there's a lot more to it than that. The first thing you usually want to do is you want to look at and you say, hey, what really matters the most to my company? What drives our company's success? If we're looking at a sales example, for example, what are the key processes that are driving our sales success, or what's causing it to possibly fail? Another key question could be is, what actually makes our company money? And then asking yourself the question, how do we actually know how we're performing? Challenging those assumptions and saying, okay, this is the way we've always done it, and we know that we always make money by selling this product. Well, how do you know? Are you measuring it? Because if you're not measuring it, you can't manage it. And let's put the proof where the pudding's at and actually take this data and build out these reports that are refreshed constantly, so that at the end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year, we can actually know if how profitable we are, and if we can improve that profitability by uncovering some other data insights that may be behind that may be hidden that we haven't seen before. So really figuring out, what matters most to your company and what key processes are going to change is always the first step. And then once you figure that out, then you got to say, okay, well, where's my data? Is that data being stored in a CRM if we're looking at a sales solution? Maybe one individual always keeps a separate spreadsheet that they're tracking a certain amount of data in just to keep track of certain our largest customers. It's always happening. There's always, a rogue data set somewhere. So identifying where it's at and being able to pull it in to our data source is the next step. And then asking ourselves, okay, we know our key processes, we know where our data's at, how are we going to utilize it? What are the key metrics we're actually wanting to look at? If we're looking at sales, do we want to look at our year-over-year approach? Are we wanting to look at our percentage growth over year time? Are we wanting to look at month to date, year to date? What are the key measures we're looking at? Averages, maybe some predictive analytics with that, revenue and profitability, whatever it is, we want to start figuring out, how we want to, what are the metrics that are actually we're wanting to see on the report. And then once we figure that out, now it's time to tell that story, because that is what we're doing. We're taking this information and we're telling a story with our data. And it asks the questions and challenge those assumptions saying, well, this is how we've done it and we know it's profitable. Challenge it by saying, well, how do we know, putting this information behind and putting that data to work. And telling that story means putting these visuals, these rich visuals to it, because every story needs drama. Whether you like drama or not, that's how the story, everybody likes a good story with drama. And an example of this could be is, the drama on this line chart is, we always think that Andrew is always out producing revenue, always getting us sales. But why did he dip down in February, and why did he spike so high in April? It allows us to ask those questions now, saying, well, normally he's always selling, at least at 10% in February, and for some reason this year he dipped down below the line. So what's actually going on there? It's allowing you to ask those questions so that you can actually see what is going on. Because at the end of the day, insights drive actions. And, we have all these millions of rows of data, and we're talking about data is all around us. It's everywhere. But unless we can, do something meaningful with this, it's just going to sit there and it's not going to do us any good. So if we can take that information and improve our performance, efficiency, and satisfaction, that's where you're going to see yourself getting ahead of your competitors and improving your company's bottom line and increasing your revenue and profitability. So that being said, this is another example of some reports that you could possibly build out. But instead of actually just showing you that static image, I'm going to jump in again to Power BI for another brief demo to show you some other cool features that Power BI actually does offer and some things you can bring to the table. So in this instance, I'm going to go to our retail workspace and show you a sales analysis of an example of a convenience store approach of how we might actually want to look at some different stores. So if we want to look at store 1, you can see again how this data changes over time. Store 3. If you want to look at some year-month dynamic comparisons, maybe we just want to look at our total sales here in our more tabular report. We can slice and dice it by different categories. If we want to look at a car wash category and see how our car wash is operating, maybe we want to look at our high margin category as well, so we can pull that data in. One type of visual that our customers really enjoy is the trend chart. So this is a very beneficial chart that you can look at a snapshot real quick and see how I am performing year over year by no matter what category you're looking at. Maybe you're looking at car wash, and maybe you just want to look at for store 1. So how is store 1? Why does store 1 only showing up for 2015 and 16? Maybe that's because, well, it's because I don't have this selected. So if we bring 2017 on there, you can see we only have one month of data for 2017. And again, we can look at the first quarter, etc. And this is a more detailed page that gives us some more information. Maybe we're looking at our rank by sales by our year-over-year growth, our year-over-year gross sales by store name and year. One other feature that Power BI comes with is the ability to export your data. So if I actually click export data, what that's going to do is going to allow me to export this information into Excel to where I can then take that data and I can actually do what I want with it in Excel, copy and paste, maybe create some visuals in Excel, whatever you're wanting to do with it. So it's a very awesome tool that where if you have a data analyst on site, you can actually give them that capability, because they may not be satisfied with this visual, but it at least gives them the capability to take this raw data here and do with it what they want. Another nice feature that Power BI has is the ability to take this data set and analyze it in Excel. So what it does is when you say analyze in Excel, it takes this whole report's data set. So everything that is behind this report that is, giving us all these visuals, it allows us to dump that data into an Excel spreadsheet, and that will allow you or your data analyst to actually create any reports inside Excel and slice and dice the data any way they want it also. Another feature that you've heard me talking about is refreshes. So one thing that we can actually do inside of Power BI is allows us to schedule a data refresh. So we can actually go in here and we can say, every time at midnight, I want this data to refresh. Or for example, maybe our point of sale system, everything is updated by noon every day. So I want to make sure that my data set updates every day at 1 o'clock, so that when I log back in at 1:15, that data is going to be up to date and I'm looking at the most relevant information. So just some more ideas of what you can do with Power BI. And I will show you one more example here. So this is the desktop again, and if we're looking at building reports, this is actually a report built off Illinois gaming data. And what it is just publicly known data. Illinois legalized gaming a few years ago. So we've gone and we pulled all this data and we've actually published it to an Azure SQL database. So this report is actually pulling data from an Azure SQL DB. And if we go inside of the Power BI platform here, we can see that gaming demo, that report. And what this will do is anytime that I upload new information into that Azure database, I'll have a data refresh set up on this to where the next time I log in, it's going to update my data. So anytime that new data transaction comes in, anytime I load new information into the report, into that data set, it's going to refresh and it's going to give me the most up-to-date info. So with that being said, I'm going to dive back into the presentation, and what are we actually doing with the Power BI tool? It's really a great way for us to benchmark and track our key performance indicators. And a term I always like to use is you got to have the tools. So if you think about it, think if you were a home builder and you built your home with a hammer. You could be the best home builder in the area. You get the job done quick, you get it done effectively. But think about how more efficient you could be is if you used a nail gun. You could probably knock out 3 homes in the time it would take you to knock out 1. The same thing can be said with Power BI. Power BI is that tool that's going to allow you to harness that information at hand and help bring your company and push yourself past your competitors and increase your bottom line. You could still be a great company because you could still be, operating as efficiently and effectively as you can, but that tool, that business intelligence tool is what's going to allow you to exceed and propel yourself forward. Going into some of the key benefits and differentiators of Power BI, some things that can be done is there are pre-built dashboards and reports for some popular software as a service solutions. So if you are using, a QuickBooks or a Xero accounting solution, they have some pre-built things where you can just drop it in place. Actually, Turnkey Technologies, we have some pre-built Power BI templates where if you're using Microsoft CRM or GP, we actually have some reports that we can drop in place and get you started, very fast and very quick to get you up and running with a Power BI solution. again, the real-time dashboard updates. The real nice thing about it is it integrates great with the Microsoft products. It sits right there in Office 365. So if you're logged in, you can go ahead and click on Power BI, see how I'm performing. If you're using SharePoint, if you're using Microsoft Teams, if you're using CRM, you can embed these reports into those environments. So you can actually, take a Power BI report and embed it into a Microsoft Teams or a Microsoft SharePoint site. So that's a very nice way to how you can just kind of stay within one platform and not have to go out to somewhere else to see how I'm actually performing. Microsoft Business Intelligence and Analytics, it is the trusted platform. They have been the leader in 2016 and they are the leader in 2017 as well. According to Gartner Magic Quadrant for Business Intelligence and Analytics, it is at a fraction of the cost. So for one user, it's $10 per month per user or $120 a year just to use this BI tool. And the other competitors don't even compare to that cost. And you're getting so much value, if not more, out of Power BI. And then, as we're looking at this, it really is a way that you're going to be digitally transforming your journey. And here at Turnkey, we want to partner with you. We want to partner with our clients. And that starts from planning all the way down to the implementation and value realization. There's a lot on this screen that's going on, but basically what we want to get across is we want to work with you. We want to create that relationship, and we want to help you take your company to the next level and help you succeed in this growing, changing digital transformation of what's going on in today's society. And then this slide here, I always love ending on this slide. It's the time to adapt to disruptions is shrinking. And if we look here, look at 100 years ago of how long an S&P 500 index lasted. They lasted for about 67 years. And if you fast forward now to where we're at now, it's less than 15 years. And what that tells me that the time to change is shrinking. And technology and everything changes so fast that if you don't get on board with it, your competitors are going to pass you up. And it's basically saying if you don't change, you're going to get passed up and someone else is going to be put in front of you. So I challenge everyone on this call to think about, how can you change with this data at hand? How can you change and actually help propel your company forward? You don't have to take on the biggest data project at any given time. Take it off in little chunks, take baby steps with it, start analyzing your processes, figuring out, what are some of the key areas that we want to focus on? Do we want to focus on our sales? Maybe our finances are the area we actually want to look at. Maybe it's operations. Maybe it's something as simple as how many customers we actually have coming to us in a year's time. Whatever it is, take small steps, and, Turnkey Technologies, we're here to help you with that in any way, shape, or form. So, with that being said, digital transformation, whether that's with data or any form of technology, it's a unique journey, and we're here to help you. So with that being said, that is the end of my presentation, and I would like to open it up to any questions that we may have. I know that's a lot of talking for me to go on, so I'll open it up to Brad and ask you if we have any questions that have come through during this time.
Hey, Greg, we did get just a few questions here. The first one is, what is the pricing for Power BI?
Okay. Power BI is $10 a month per user. So you have 10 users, that's $10 each, and that's based on a monthly basis.
Okay, and then if I create Power BI reports, can I share them with everyone in the company? And I suppose that also has to do with licensing as well. Does everybody need a license for that?
Yes, in order for you to share the Power BI report, in order for someone else in your company to see it, they have to have a license. There is a Power BI free version to where if you actually, it's meant for more of a personal use, but unfortunately you cannot share or collaborate any of those reports with anyone else. They're meant just for you. So if you want to actually share that report or share a dashboard or use a lot more of the data refresh features, you have to have a pro license.
Okay, and how much upfront work is there from my team to get Power BI functional?
It really depends upon the scale of the project, but we always say that we want to engage with you, so we want to make sure that we understand your process. So I would say at least probably 10 hours of work, is needed from the client. And that's just by us sitting down, understanding where their data is, where they want to go with it. And that could scale up depending upon the size of the project.
Okay. Well, that's it for the questions.
Okay. Very
So,
good.
Greg, thank you so much for presenting. That was a lot of great content. As I mentioned, the webinar was recorded. It will be available in 3 to 5 business days. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. We do have a couple more questions that just came in. One of them is the cost per user the same if on-premise?
Okay, if you're using the on-premise solution, you're going to be looking at the Power BI Premium, which I did not touch on. Power BI Premium is a different, it's a different licensing structure. If you have questions on that, feel free to reach out. It's tier-based, and it all depends upon how much data you're actually consuming. So,
Okay.
I guess that question needs to be addressed on a more of a personal level.
Okay. And then another question, is there upfront setup investment in addition to the monthly charge?
Yes, so if you would engage with Turnkey for us to build the report, yes, there would be setup and investment involved with that. So we would design out a project, put an SOW in place and say, okay, this is the scope of work of what we think it's going to take to build your report out. And then after that, you have the Power BI license, you have the report, you can do with it what you want. If you decide not to do anything with Turnkey and you're just going to try to take it on yourself, that's no big deal. You just buy the license and you just go forward with building the report out.
Okay. That's it for the questions for now. Oh, sorry, we got one more. Do you have any production-based data to share?
Production-based data to share.
I think that means
could they elaborate?
If I'm not mistaken, like machine performance data.
I don't have any machine performance data to share at this time, no. I do have some, we do have the metrics that if you need help with identifying the different metrics that you need to look at in order to improve your company's performance on your machinery, we can help you identify those. But we do not have, I don't have any live examples of something like that.
But Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, they could connect their data, their machine performance data, if that's in another software or captured somewhere, to Power BI?
Yes, correct. Yes, if you can connect to that machine, we can get the data off that machine. So we do have the expertise for taking the data from your machine and either moving it to an SQL or actually just pulling it straight into Power BI. So that is something you can actually do. So if you're wanting to look at how long your machine's running, if you want to look at the performance of your machine, we can pull that information in.
Okay, and then finally one more question. Can you collect from PLCs from production data?
Yes. So one way you can do that is we could use a middleware to connect to those. There are some different middlewares that allow you to connect to a PLC, whether that's Allen Bradley, Mitsubishi, Omron, Siemens, whatever it is. It allows us to take the data from a PLC, and then we can move that into a database or into a location where we can actually pull that into Power BI. Or if you actually want to see that information live, some instances they want to see that info live, we can actually stream that live real time into Power BI application as well.
And can you interact with SQL databases without an API?
Yes, as long as we can, as long as we have credentials to get into that SQL database, we can interact with it. If we cannot access it because of some security issue that maybe a third-party software vendor may have, we'll have to look at some type of API integration that we'll have to write a custom app to pull the API in and populate our own database.
And I think that wraps up the questions, but like we said, if you do have any more questions, please feel free to ask Greg. He can talk about this stuff all day and definitely get your questions answered, and he would love to discuss your goals. So thank you again for joining us, everybody. Greg, thank you for a great presentation. Like I mentioned, this will be available to view on our website in 3 to 5 business days. And until next time, I hope everybody has a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.